So I ran into another German last week, which is so funny because she was the first one my age that also lives in Florida. I don't really run into Germans living in Tampa, but we just talked about how much easier it is to make friends in the US compared to Germany, and I 100% agree. So let's talk about that. This is obviously my personal opinion. I lived in Germany my whole life. I moved and immigrated to Florida in basically 2021. And I have amazing friends in Germany. I have friends that I know since kindergarten, high school, college, all that. But I also talk to a lot of people that still live in Germany. And when they moved to a new city or they took a new job and moved away, they all told me the same thing, that it's so difficult to make friends, not just because you're an adult, but if you don't have friends like that you know from college or just like from your past, it's really difficult because Germans like to, keep to themselves. Their friends groups already, it's really hard to get into new friends groups. That's why there are a lot of apps at this point in Germany, like Bumble Friends, and this is how you can make friends. So yeah, it's tough out there, especially because the culture is obviously so different. And what I mean with that is that you don't just start a random conversation with a stranger if you are sitting in a train or if you are at the grocery store. So maybe it's also a Florida thing. Obviously, Europe is as big as the US and every state is different. But in Florida, everybody is so nice and friendly. It is so easy to small talk and start a conversation. And a lot of people say, oh, this is fake. They don't really care. And I mean, yes, if you are talking to a waitress or if you are at the grocery store and they say, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? They're not going to be your therapist, and they don't need to hear every single detail of your life and how your ex-boyfriend treated you. But there is still like a way easier bridge to just, talk to someone, and it's so much easier to just start a conversation and keep it going. And in Germany, the only time strangers, I feel like, talk to each other is if they complain about something. Whenever I go back and visit my family, it's so funny because it's just a culture. I am German, so I know how it is, but you don't talk to each other unless there's like usually a negative reason why you would start a conversation. For example, you're at MediaMarkt and you're like, oh, it's taking forever, waiting in line forever, like why they're not opening up another registry, blah blah blah. And then everybody's like, yeah. So it's like usually something negative that you bond over, whereas in the US you just more like chill. So I do feel like there are also other components, like in Florida the weather's usually always nice, so people are more outside, they're more active, they